At the celebration banquet, my girlfriend attended with her first love. In the heat of the moment, the confused crowd asked them to kiss. Watching the video, which a friend forwarded to me and was now trending, I was strangely calm. I even found myself amused. Leaving a comment below, after sneaking around for so many years, they finally dared to kiss openly. Congrats. Chapter 1. Last week, it was my dad's first birthday after being discharged from the hospital, and I specifically invited Freya to join us for dinner. But who would have thought? We waited until the food went cold, and she never showed up. It wasn't until I checked Matthew's WeChat moments that I realized Freya had rushed to the hospital to take care of him for a mere sneeze. I confronted her, but she was indifferent. Your dad's fine now, and I'm not even part of your family. I would just be in the way. We gave each other the silent treatment for a few days. Yesterday, Freya sent me a text asking me to attend her company's celebration banquet tomorrow. It was her subtle way of extending an olive branch. Over and over, we've quarreled and reconciled, all because of Matthew. This cycle has been the norm ever since Matthew returned to the country. The control of our relationship has always been in Freya's hands. Whether it's good or bad depends entirely on her mood, and her mood depends on Matthew. I've become just a pawn in the emotional game between them. But yesterday, when I saw her message, I no longer felt any joy. All I felt was overwhelming exhaustion. I knew something significant had happened, but maybe it was a good thing for me. After all, I could finally take my heart back. Leaving it in the hands of someone who doesn't value it has been utterly draining. I replied calmly, got it, and went back to work. After all, I had been disappointed far too many times. After work today, I tidied myself up, but after some thought, I didn't bother changing into a suit. When I arrived at the banquet hotel, I was right on time. Without an invitation, I couldn't get in. Calling Freya yielded no response, and my messages went unanswered. I could only stand at the entrance, watching the elegantly dressed guests come and go, feeling like a fool left out in the cold. After the 10th unanswered call, I simply turned and left. The banquet was so crowded that it was impossible to get a cab. In the end, I decided to walk home. I hummed a tune as I strolled, taking in the scenery. It was actually quite peaceful. When I finally got home, I saw the video my friend had forwarded. In the video, a stunning couple, looking perfect together, shared a passionate kiss amidst the cheers of the crowd. The caption read, "The main stars of the banquet, Freya and her date." The video had already made its way to the trending section in the local area, and many people were commenting below, calling them a match made in heaven. Oddly enough, when I saw the video, my heart felt an eerie calmness. There was even a sense of relief that they were together. Otherwise, my recently resolved heart might have wavered again. I raised my hand to type a few words under the video, which were quickly buried under a flood of comments. Freya and her little lover can finally be open about it now. Respect and congrats. Chapter 2. After a shower, I went straight to bed. I didn't bother with the rumors circulating online, nor did I ask Freya why she didn't give me an invitation. None of it mattered to me anymore. In the middle of the night, half asleep, I heard Freya stumbling back, drunk, listening to her heavy footsteps. For the first time, I didn't get up to help her, nor did I make her a bowl of hangover soup. Smelling the alcohol on her breath, I frowned. It turns out that when I stopped seeing Freya through rose-colored glasses, she's actually quite irritating. For some reason, she didn't turn away for a long time. I pretended to roll over, leaving her behind. "Kevin, I want some hangover soup," she mumbled, complaining, but I stayed motionless in bed. No hangover soup was worth getting up for in the middle of the night anymore. I used to wait at home like a housewife, just so that when Freya returned, she'd see someone was waiting for her. But all I got in return was her cold indifference and disdain. Even that bowl of soup would often end up spilled on the floor after one of our heated arguments, staining the carpet I carefully chose. She was always standing tall, watching my emotional outbursts with an air of superiority, then stabbing me in the heart. If I really had something with Matthew, why would I still be with you now? Eventually, she stopped explaining anything. She would just watch me unravel, like a madman, falling apart and piecing myself back together. Then, she'd step all over me again just when I'd found some balance. I got used to it. Looking back now, a grown man behaving like I did was pretty pathetic. Even just thinking about it is embarrassing. Seeing I wasn't responding, she pushed me again. I continued pretending to sleep, not moving a muscle. Finally, she gave up. She clattered about the house, removing her makeup and showering noisily. By the time I woke up again, it was already 10 in the morning. Surprisingly, Freya was still asleep, her face buried in the covers. Strange, she wasn't out with Matthew today. After a simple brunch, I sat on the couch, rewatching the video from yesterday. I watched them kissing and dancing together on loop, at least 10 times, down to the details of the Rolex watch Matthew was wearing last night, the latest model, a gift from Freya, for no reason at all. just because she felt like giving it. So different from the Freya who had always been so stingy when it came to buying a gift for my dad when he was in the hospital. At 1 p.m., Freya finally got up. She looked at the empty dining table, confused as to why I hadn't cooked for her as usual. "Why didn't you come yesterday?" she asked, scrolling through her phone beside me. "You didn't give me an invitation. They don't know me. How would I have gotten in?" I joked. Freya had worked her way up to vice president at her company, yet none of her colleagues knew who her boyfriend was. Some even thought she was a wealthy single woman. I used to get upset about it, but she always scolded me with a patronizing tone. "I go to work to make money, not to show off my relationship. Can you stop interfering with my work?" It wasn't until yesterday that I realized it wasn't that she didn't want to introduce her boyfriend. It's just that the title of boyfriend could only belong to Matthew. "Why didn't you call?" she asked. I smiled and gestured to her phone's missed calls. It was probably filled with my calls by now. "Well, since you didn't show up, I ran into Matthew and had him stand in for you." I nodded, saying nothing. I knew exactly what kind of person Matthew was. He did it on purpose. Great. After all, he's much better looking than me. A perfect fit to be your date. There was no argument. Freya widened her eyes, as if she didn't recognize me. "Are you mad?" "I told you. Nothing's going on between us." I quickly responded, "If you two could be together, you would have already been, and I'd be out of the picture." I interrupted her, shrugging. "I'm going to work overtime today, so I won't be home for dinner." When I returned from overtime, the house was already empty. Chapter 3. Sure enough, Freya had started another round of silent treatment. Honestly, the Cold War is pretty pointless. I used to rack my brains for all kinds of little surprises to make peace with Freya, killing off all my brain cells in the process. Now, I actually feel an unprecedented sense of relief. I don't have to wait up for Freya to come home at night, nor worry if she's out getting drunk. In the mornings, I no longer have to take a detour around 3 streets just to drop her off at work, leaving the house half an hour early. I don't even have to keep an eye on my phone during work, waiting to see if Freya would text me back or worrying about whether she's with Matthew. None of it is my concern anymore. Bringing my focus back to myself, I now have more time to do my own things. I can unapologetically play games with my buddies, or grab a late-night snack with colleagues at a barbecue joint. Even when I work overtime, I feel more energized. Watching colleagues who joined after me rise to leadership roles, I feel ashamed of how little I've achieved. I'd been coasting along ever since Freya said, "As long as one of us can earn money, that's enough." I gave up on my career without hesitation. Every day, I'd come home early just so Freya could have a hot meal waiting for her. Even though she barely ate at home due to her social commitments, I kept at it for years, day in and day out. I guess I've always been blinded by love. Now that I've broken free of this toxic cycle, I realize how wrong I was. Maybe there's no such thing as first come, first served in love, but the person who's not loved definitely loses. Freya never even bothered to visit my dad when he was sick, yet she was willing to make ginger soup for Matthew when he sneezed. I ruined my own career for this woman, and now I've got nothing to show for it. Even my once proud relationship has become a laughingstock to others. I guess I should be thankful to the person who filmed that video. If it hadn't been for that video, I wouldn't have seen things clearly and made up my mind. Who knows how much longer I would have been stuck in this emotional whirlpool, unable to escape. The ambition of the younger generation has rubbed off on me. It's time I take the second step in my life. The first step was throwing away my dignity for Freya. The second will be reclaiming it, piece by piece. I'm starting to take my job more seriously, even staying late to work overtime voluntarily. I've been preparing for all kinds of exams and evaluations, pushing myself to new limits. In this era of slackers, I quickly stood out. My colleagues constantly joke that I've become a workaholic. For some reason, their banter is a lot more fun than Freya's arguments ever were. These past few days, Freya's still giving me the cold shoulder, and she's barely been home. That's fine by me. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain my sudden workaholic transformation to her. In her world, she's always the most important. When the Cold War ends, I'm sure I'll have to go back to being the servant, catering to the spoiled princess. God, let this Cold War drag on a bit longer, at least for now. I'm living the freedom I haven't felt in ages. Chapter 4. During a break in the meeting, I stepped out with a colleague for a cigarette. Freya, unusually, sent me a message, only to quickly retract it. I knew this was one of Freya's little tricks, pretending to send the wrong message and then withdrawing it. It was meant to grab my attention. Unfortunately for her, that tactic only worked when we were still flirting. Back then, I would have gotten jealous, thinking she was deliberately trying to catch my eye. But now, I just figured Freya had really sent it by mistake. I deleted the conversation, erasing years of memories along with it. After work, I got a call from Freya. "I'll pick you up after work." She didn't ask, she commanded, leaving no room for refusal. I guess she knew my car was restricted today and that I hadn't driven. But my first reaction was to resist. No need. I'll just take the subway. It's more eco-friendly. My refusal earned a sarcastic laugh from Freya. She said she'd be waiting downstairs, then hung up. With no other choice, I slung my bag over my shoulder and waited downstairs for her. An hour passed, and still no sign of Freya. Then the phone rang. It was her. "You haven't come down yet?" I explained that I'd been standing at the entrance the whole time, but she said she'd been waiting for me for a while. Her silence on the other end told me she was on the verge of getting angry. "Aren't you at Panda Tower?" A smirk crossed my face. Panda Tower is Matthew's company, not mine. I knew I shouldn't have placed any faith in Freya. It was just further proof of my position in her heart. "I'll take the subway. Don't bother coming here." I hung up before she could say anything else. It was the first time I'd ever hung up on her, and it felt great. By the time I got home, Freya was already sitting on the couch, waiting for me. A rare sight indeed, considering she always had a million excuses not to come home. Dinner with co-workers today, camping with friends tomorrow, and somehow, Matthew's shadow always seemed to be there in the background. "Kevin, you're back. I didn't mean it today. I was trying to surprise you, but I messed it up. I know you didn't mean it. In fact, it's because she didn't care. I get it now. You're not mad, right?" She studied my expression, trying to gauge my mood. I shook my head and just grabbed enough ingredients from the fridge to make a meal for one. It had been a while since I cooked, and my skills were rusty. Seeing me prepare food only for myself confirmed in her mind that I was upset. "You're not even cooking for me anymore. If you're not mad, then what? Why are you always like this? I've already apologized. Isn't that enough?" See, this is classic Freya. She's good at reading people but never takes responsibility for her own actions. It's partly my fault, too. In the past, I would have gotten angry by now. I'd even dredge up old grievances and demand we settle them. And whenever that happened, she'd find my weak spot and hit me with the same line. "If Matthew and I could be together, we would have already, and you wouldn't matter." It's laughable how much I hate that line. "There's nothing else in the fridge. You'll just have to make do," I said. In truth, I couldn't be bothered to cook for her. Countless times, I'd made dinner and waited for her at home, reheating the food over and over, but she never showed. When I complained about her wasting food, she always brushed me off. "How much can a few dishes cost? Can you stop making a fuss over nothing?" Yeah, just like the food, my efforts were worthless to her. Chapter 5. I thought Freya would take the hint and leave me alone, or that she'd give me the silent treatment for a while longer. I'd welcome that, honestly. But to my surprise, the next day at noon, she messaged me again. "I'll meet you at your office. I've got a meeting nearby and can give you a ride." Really? I glanced at my car parked in its spot. Does she know how expensive overnight parking is around here? I was about to refuse, but then I thought better of it. Maybe this would be a good opportunity to lay everything out and settle things with Freya once and for all. End it cleanly, and she could be with Matthew without any delay. After work, I headed downstairs with my bag. This time, Freya didn't go to the wrong place, but she brought along an unwelcome guest, Matthew. To be honest, it had been a long time since we'd met in such a formal setting. Usually, it was when Matthew dropped Freya off at home. Matthew took his place in the passenger seat, and Freya honked the horn from the driver's seat. It was as if she were asking why I wasn't getting in the car yet. I laughed in disbelief, then opened the back door and got in. Hey, with someone else driving, why not enjoy the ride? I heard the passenger seat has the highest fatality rate in accidents anyway, so no thanks. As my thoughts wandered, I remembered the first time I met Matthew. Our friends threw him a welcome party, and it just so happened to be at the same place where we were having a team-building event. I'd had a few drinks, and after the event, I wanted to go home with Freya, but I saw the two of them drinking from the same glass in response to our mutual friends teasing. Someone even asked Freya, "When are you going to break up with that guy? Matthew's standing right in front of you." Matthew, with his typical calm and charming demeanor, just smiled at Freya. Freya didn't say anything. She just shook her head. That was when I realized Matthew was the long-lost first love buried deep in Freya's heart, and that's why I couldn't help but compare myself to Matthew. But now, I've long since stopped caring about that. Comparing ourselves to others, what's the point? "Freya, there's an art exhibition this weekend. Why don't you come with me?" Matthew's voice broke the awkward silence in the car. For some reason, Freya didn't immediately agree. She glanced at me through the rearview mirror, watching my reaction. Kevin wouldn't be that petty, would he? Keeping you cooped up at home all weekend like some kind of housewife. Matthew's mocking tone came through. He never thought much of me. I shrugged. "Do whatever you want. I've got overtime this weekend. Anyway, go enjoy yourselves. Just try not to let another video go viral this time. It's not a good look," I said pointedly, earning a confused look from Freya. "A video? What video?" Her confusion seemed genuine, but I didn't care to explain. Why bother causing more trouble for myself? Matthew quickly shifted the conversation back to the art exhibit, and I knew this whole thing was part of his plan. But as long as Freya doesn't officially break up with me, Matthew has to stay on the sidelines. I had intended to clear things up today, but now I found it amusing to let Matthew play the third wheel for a bit longer. I stopped talking and focused on saving all the trending videos from yesterday. They were solid evidence. Evidence of Freya's infidelity. Thinking of that, I couldn't help but feel a pang of regret about the parking fees. Listening to the two of them chatting, I slowly drifted off to sleep. Chapter 6. When I woke up, we were already home. I stretched lazily and followed Freya upstairs. Silence hung between us, but I found comfort in it. "You're working overtime this weekend?" she suddenly asked, catching me off guard. "Yeah," I replied. "Going to the office to read counts as overtime, doesn't it?" "Today, I picked up some things with Matthew. I specifically came to pick you up after work," she hurriedly explained, but her words held no weight with me. Matthew's family isn't short of money. What could he possibly need Freya to buy for him? Maybe she's just playing the simp again, following him around like a loyal dog. As I thought about it, I chuckled bitterly. Haven't I been Freya's dog all along too? Only now. This dog has finally wised up. It's time to turn my back on her. I mumbled some half-hearted responses and prepared to shower and sleep. Later that night, Freya pressed herself against me, sending a shiver down my spine, but I didn't move. My heart was as calm as still water. The next day, to my surprise, Freya was downstairs again. "Lucas and the others want to meet up today. They insisted I bring you along," she said. I glanced at her, speechless. While thinking about my expensive parking fees, I held back for a while, but finally, I spoke. "I'll drive. You lead the way. Just make sure to follow me." "Okay," she urged, worried that I might back out. Why would I? Lucas was the one who sent me that video. He was also the one who encouraged Freya to break up with me. They all grew up together. Childhood friends. Everyone thought Freya and Matthew were meant to be together, destined for each other. For reasons unknown, when Matthew left the country, Freya ended up dating me. The clueless fool. We've been together for years now, but since Matthew came back, the whole group has been hanging out like they did when they were kids. Lucas has told me countless times about how great their relationship was, how their family supported it, how they were a perfect match. Whenever I heard that, I would go crazy, running to question Freya, only to get the same response: "If we could be together, we would have already. What's it got to do with you?" It was a vicious cycle, reopening my healing wounds, watching them slowly fester. But luckily, I'm like a cockroach, hard to kill. I cut out the rotten scars, and for the wounds that wouldn't heal, I stitched them up myself. I'm moving on. I accepted Freya's invitation. After all, I was curious to see what kind of drama this banquet would bring. We stood at Lucas's door. Before I could even ring the doorbell, the door opened. Streams of confetti rained down, and Matthew stepped forward, holding a bouquet of roses, handing them to Freya. "Freya, today marks the 15th anniversary of us knowing each other. When you confessed to me back then, I didn't respond because I wanted to give you a better life, so you'd never have to worry, so you wouldn't have to work so hard. Now I have the means to make you happy. I think it's time to give you my answer. I want to be with you." Their mutual friends cheered and egged them on without restraint. Lucas chimed in. Matthew gave up a high-paying job overseas and rushed back for Freya. "Freya, it's time to get things back on track. We're all waiting for the wedding." The atmosphere was so harmonious that even I, the so-called official boyfriend, couldn't help but applaud. Clap, clap, clap. It was only then that people seemed to realize I was there, and the crowd fell silent, except for Lucas, who was clearly drunk. "Kevin, you've got the nerve to show up. If you're a real man, you'll be smart enough to give Freya back to Matthew. Haven't you figured it out yet after all these years?" "Sure." My tone was light and playful. "Matthew, congratulations on getting what you've always wanted. The third wheel is finally getting promoted to the main act." Chapter 7. Freya turned to me in disbelief, as if she didn't recognize me. I shrugged. "Did I say something wrong?" "Kevin, you can't talk about Freya like that," Matthew snapped. Seeing that Freya hadn't responded, a flash of dissatisfaction crossed his face before he redirected his anger toward me. "I'm just trying to give us closure for the past. You don't have to be so harsh." "Closure?" I wasn't sure what kind of closure involves forcing a confession in front of someone's boyfriend. Maybe this is just how rich people entertain themselves. The people around us started taking sides, criticizing me, as if I shouldn't have been there in the first place. Enough. Freya tossed the flowers to Lucas and, with a blank expression, walked over to my side. "Kevin is my boyfriend, and I'm the one who asked him to come. If you have any complaints, direct them at me." Wow. She suddenly remembered to stand up for me. Freya must be going through something because in the past, whenever her friends made fun of me, she'd stand there like a victorious statue, watching me take the hits. If you asked her about it, she'd say, "They're just friends. You're a man. What's a few words?" Why take it so seriously? Now that I've lost all hope, she's decided to defend me. But it's too late. People often try to prove their place in someone's heart by testing their emotions again and again. The more emotional the reaction, the more important they feel their place is. Eventually, I realized Freya wasn't emotionally numb. She had simply channeled all her attention toward Matthew. Freya, don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to make up for what I couldn't do before. If you're upset, I'll apologize to Kevin on behalf of everyone. I'm sure Kevin won't hold a grudge. Right, Matthew was smart, defusing the situation by taking all the blame himself. A clever diversion. Freya's face showed hesitation as she glanced between me and the crowd around us. I won't hold a grudge. After all, I didn't say anything when your kissing video went viral. It's just a confession. I'm not that petty. Don't worry, I said casually. A video? What video? Freya was still confused, but the mention of the kiss seemed to jog her memory. I pulled up the video on my phone. To be honest, it was Lucas who sent it to me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known. As I showed the trending video of them kissing, Freya's face flushed, alternating between pale and red. Love doesn't disappear in an instant. Humiliating Freya in front of a crowd wasn't my intention, so I chose to walk away. Sitting in my car, memories of me and Freya flooded my mind. It felt like everything evaporated with today's confrontation. My phone kept ringing, but I silenced it and drove home. To my home. My dad has been out of the hospital for a while now, and I still haven't visited him. As for Freya and me, we'll talk once she's calmed down. By the next time I see her, she might already be Matthew's girlfriend. Chapter 8. As soon as I stepped out of the house in the morning, I saw Freya waiting downstairs. The rising sun cast a soft glow on her delicate face, even making her weariness seem perfectly aligned with the scene. Kevin, you're finally out. Seeing me, she hurried to match my steps. You weren't answering my calls, and you haven't been home. I didn't know how else to reach you. I don't even have your parents' phone numbers. I've been waiting for you. That's right. 5 years together with Freya, and she still didn't have my parents' contact info. She hesitated to even visit my dad in the hospital. Yet she never forgot to send gifts to Matthew's parents for every holiday. I had originally planned to use this chance to introduce her to my parents, but now it seemed unnecessary. Seeing my silence, she anxiously continued, I really don't know how that video got out. I've already contacted the uploader to get it taken down. We were just playing a game back then, and I didn't want to embarrass Matthew in front of everyone. This was my fault. I swear it won't happen again. Kevin, it won't happen again. Freya had said that many times, after getting drunk with Matthew, after spending a night together because I couldn't reach her, after staying over at Matthew's place to take care of him, she would always snap, I told you it won't happen again. What more do you want? She was the one who kept making promises, only to break them. I'll stay at my place for now. Let's both take some time to think things over. Ignoring her hollow promises, I got in the car and drove to work. During lunch, Freya sent me a message, but quickly retracted it. For some reason, this time she sent a picture right after. It was a travel plan she had made. I replied with a question mark, not understanding her intent. Was she really showing me her travel plans with Matthew? You said you've always wanted to visit the capital. Right, I've made all the arrangements. Let's go together. We had talked about going on a trip so many times. I had worried she was too busy, so I made all the plans. All she had to do was follow me. Every time, she'd say she was too busy. Busy having dinners with Matthew. Busy stargazing with Matthew. Busy attending events with Matthew. There was never time to travel with me. Too bad I deleted our previous chats. Otherwise, I could have revisited the countless times I played the fool. Usually, my long messages would only get brief replies. Sometimes, it was just me talking to myself. At first, I'd tell myself she was just busy with work and didn't have time for me. Eventually, I got used to it, even treating our chat as her daily reminder to not forget to eat. In love, the one who loves more is the one who loses. But I liked her, so what could I do? Now, I realized that sometimes the best outcome between people is to not disturb each other. I casually skimmed through her travel itinerary and set it aside. She hadn't even remembered that I'm allergic to chicken, and yet she had enthusiastically highlighted the first stop, roasted chicken in the capital. Chapter 9. The weekend finally arrived. My colleagues had been pestering me to treat them, celebrating my promotion to team leader. I grinned and, with a wave of my hand, declared that today's bill was on me. I must admit, not planning for a wedding has really loosened up my spending. I used to live so frugally, saving every penny to marry Freya. Even when coworkers wanted to split a coffee, they'd automatically skip asking me. They knew I'd refuse. After a while, they stopped inviting me to group activities altogether. Meanwhile, Freya spent money like water, all for Matthew's happiness. Luxury watches, high-end goods. She'd buy them without blinking. She even dipped into our house savings without hesitation. I tried to advise her to be more mindful of her spending, but she'd snap back. Most of that money was earned by me anyway. I can always earn it back later. Eventually, I stopped bringing it up. Now, I'm genuinely grateful that I have time for myself again. With arms around each other's shoulders, we headed to a barbecue joint, which was apparently our company's hidden gem. Big portions, great flavor, and affordable. Just as I was raising my glass to celebrate, Freya called. "Kevin, are you coming home tonight? I bought a bunch of your favorite dishes. It's been so long since we've had dinner together." I thought about Freya's disastrous cooking skills. If we ate, I'd probably have to do the cooking myself. "No need. You eat by yourself. I'm eating out," I replied. Just then, one of my female colleagues shouted for everyone to raise a toast to me. Freya's voice suddenly grew sharp. "Who's that? Why are there women's voices?" I sighed and explained. "I'm at a dinner. Isn't it normal to have female co-workers? Don't be so paranoid." Every time I found out Freya was with Matthew, she would say the same thing. "We're just hanging out with a group. It's perfectly normal for there to be guys. Don't be so paranoid." Now, I finally had the chance to throw that line back at her. After hanging up, I went back to enjoying the food. I have to admit, the grilled skewers at this place were delicious. Throughout the evening, Freya sent me a few messages, saying she was worried about me driving home after drinking and offering to come pick me up. I ignored her and made plans with my colleagues for another round. When I didn't reply, she called again, determined not to give up until I answered. "What's your deal, princess? I'm worried about you. Just give me a chance to apologize." "Okay." She paused before finally getting the words out. Hearing an apology from Freya was like seeing a different person entirely. She always prided herself on being a strong, independent woman, someone who bled, sweat, but never cried. She never admitted her mistakes or apologized. When I loved her, that was her filter of strength. When I no longer loved her, it just seemed crazy. I sent her my location but purposely didn't mention when we'd be done. By the time we stumbled out, drunk and unsteady, Freya was already waiting at the door. "How did you drink this much?" She tried to help me into her car, but I waved her off, staggering toward my own. Even drunk, I didn't forget how expensive the parking fees here were. Freya bit her lip but eventually followed me. "I want to go home," I mumbled from the passenger seat, watching as Freya drove us back. "This isn't my home. I want to go to my own house." When we got to her place, I refused to go upstairs, insisting on going back to my parents' house. That sneaky woman. She tricked me. She had ulterior motives. Freya, now unusually gentle, helped me upstairs and put me to bed. Before leaving, she pressed a soft kiss to my forehead. I opened my eyes, fully alert. Touching the spot where her kiss had landed, I felt an eerie sense of calm wash over me. Chapter 10. To avoid running into Freya, I got up before dawn. I didn't expect to find her sleeping on the couch. I tiptoed over and gently covered her with a blanket, but it woke her up. "Kevin, you're awake. I'll make you some hangover soup," she mumbled sleepily, her voice soft, lacking the authority she always carried at work. "No need. Just go back to bed and rest," I said, then hurried out the door. Surprisingly, Freya didn't go to the art exhibition with Matthew. Instead, she brought me a lunchbox and left it at the office front desk, afraid I'd refuse to see her. From that point on, Freya seemed like a completely different person. She stopped hanging out with Lucas and their group, and even turned down invitations from Matthew. Every day, she delivered lunch to me, reminding me to eat well. Even when I went out with colleagues, she would show up at the restaurant to pick me up afterward. I had no idea what her game was, but with a new project keeping me busy, I let her be. So, Freya started hurrying home every day to cook for me. Some of her friends messaged her, teasing that she must be preparing to settle down with Matthew and become a housewife. I happened to be sitting next to her when she received one of those messages. The voice note played loud and clear. Freya fumbled to close the message, but accidentally turned up the volume instead. Expressionless, I sat next to her, reviewing a work proposal, feeling utterly calm inside. I wasn't going to foolishly open my heart again just because of Freya's sudden change, and I was right not to. I overheard her messaging back, and she even posted a picture of us together in her moments. Noticing my frown, she hurried to show me her post, thinking that I was upset about it. Truth was, I was only frowning because of a minor mistake in the proposal. She showed me the picture she had posted in her moments. It was from our 5-year anniversary, taken at a studio where I dragged her to get some photos. That day, she had been unusually cheerful, constantly smiling. I had thought it was because she was excited about my proposal plan. It wasn't until later that I realized it was because she'd received a message from Matthew, telling her that her first love was about to return to the country. Thinking back now, that happiness was real. But beautiful moments are fleeting, and 5 years passed in the blink of an eye. The company just called me in for overtime. "You'll have to eat alone," I said. I needed to head back and fix this proposal, which could be my stepping stone to a promotion. Ignoring Freya's hesitant look and the soup she had painstakingly made, I left the house. She didn't need me as a dinner guest anyway. Who would have thought that after finishing my overtime, I'd find Freya waiting for me outside my office again? I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was seeing things. I had expected her to throw a fit after how I had brushed her off, and a cold war to inevitably follow, but there she was, waiting to pick me up from work, her face flushed from the cold wind. At that moment, I finally made a decision. Even though I didn't love her anymore, the Freya I remembered had been a bright, confident girl full of sunshine. For my own sake, I didn't want to see her reduced to this pitiful state. Besides, I knew there was no going back for us. Let's talk, I said, walking toward her and watching as her expression shifted from surprise to fear. Without a word, she got in her car and drove away. I scratched my head and decided to head to my parents' house instead. We both knew there was an insurmountable gap between us. Dragging things out wouldn't fix anything. Chapter 11. I didn't expect Freya to be this patient. To avoid me bringing up a breakup, she initiated another cold war. This time, neither of us was willing to back down. Just when I was stewing in my own thoughts, my dad called me into his room to talk. Life isn't all about love. Sometimes, letting go now might be the best way to meet again under better circumstances. Right now, you're both too stubborn, and it's only hurting you. When my parents first learned I was with Freya, they were happy for me. They had heard me mention her name many times, and they were delighted at the prospect of us getting married. They'd even urged us to tie the knot, but I kept brushing them off. I took on all the pressure myself, just to spare Freya from worrying about such things. I didn't want her to be burdened by these trivial matters. Who would have thought I'd never get the chance to say these things? Just as I stepped out of the room, I heard a knock at the door. Kevin. Freya walked in, full of energy, carrying health supplements, and greeted my parents with a bright smile. Uncle, Auntie, it's been so long. I've been busy lately, so I haven't had time to visit. I heard Uncle's recovery has been going well, so I came by to check on him. My parents looked at her in surprise, then glanced at me. They soon excused themselves, leaving us alone in the room. With just the two of us, I dropped my polite demeanor. Freya, don't you think it's a bit inappropriate to show up unannounced? Uncle's been sick. I came to check on him. Is that so wrong? My dad's already recovered. Now you remember to come see him. Where were you when I asked you to visit earlier? I was busy then, but as soon as I had time. Good. Since you're here, let's have a proper talk. We went to a cafe near the house, and I stopped her from ordering anything. Let's get this over with quickly. I need to head back to work. Don't you think the way we've been interacting is a bit off? No man can stand his girlfriend being so close with another guy, not to mention even more inappropriate behavior. Ignoring Freya's attempts to explain, I continued, I really did love you back then, but you shouldn't have taken my love for granted. I'm only human, I get tired too. I sighed, debating whether to keep talking. Freya just sat there, quietly crying. I know I've been selfish, Kevin. I admit that when Matthew first came back, I was confused, but over time, I've realized that you're the one I truly love. I've told them all that I'm your girlfriend now, and I told Matthew we won't be hanging out anymore. Can you please give me another chance? I'll change until you love me again. Okay. Freya, you still don't get it, do you? The problem between us isn't just Matthew, it's that you crossed a line without even realizing it. You gave him your heart. I never saw any of the special affection that a girlfriend should have for her boyfriend. If I had a childhood friend and constantly catered to her, would you be happy? And the most painful thing for me was when my dad got sick and wanted to see you, but you ran off to take care of Matthew. Did he really need your care? Or were you just avoiding meeting my parents? We should have ended this a long time ago. With that, I left the cafe. As I looked through the car window, I saw Freya sitting there quietly, the sunlight highlighting the tear stains on her face. Maybe this was the first time she had ever cried for me. Chapter 12. I have many memories of Freya crying, like a little hamster. She would bury her head in the blankets and silently shed tears. If she stayed that way for more than 5 minutes, there was no doubt she was crying. There were many reasons for her tears: failing an exam, frustrations at work, feeling homesick, or perhaps it was thoughts of her unrequited love that never came to fruition. She cried after meeting Matthew, too, but those were tears of joy, the kind of happiness where it felt like everything was solved just by having her first love by her side. When I stood next to Freya, I used to think to myself, as long as I'm here, I'll never let her shed a single tear for me in this lifetime. In the end, I broke that promise. After talking things through with Freya, I deleted all my connections with Lucas and the others. They were friends I had only gotten to know for Freya's sake, and they never acknowledged me anyway. Finally, I got back on track. My busy schedule kept my mind from wandering to all those messy thoughts. Each day, I worked, studied, and spent time talking to my parents when I got home. There was a strange sense of peace in my life. Freya never reached out to me again, nor did she update her social media. That was for the best. If I saw her again, I might be reminded of my pitiful past as her simp. which I'd rather not relive. Just as I thought my days would continue passing quietly, I ran into her at the hospital. I was there with my dad for a follow-up when I spotted her. Looking around at the entrance, I wanted to pretend I hadn't seen her, but her eyes lit up when she saw me, and she jogged over. "Kevin, Uncle, what a coincidence." She greeted us and naturally took the medical file from my hands. "Was the checkup smooth? Uncle, you're recovering well, right?" She affectionately linked her arm through my dad's and kept glancing back at me. "Kevin, why are you just standing there? Come on, catch up." I was at a loss, watching as she led my dad to the car and headed home. The whole way, she had my dad laughing nonstop. I couldn't even figure out how to cut into their conversation. When we got home, my dad asked me to see Freya off properly. Seeing her proud, triumphant smile, I fell silent once again. "Freya, you don't have to do this. Really, you don't need to waste your time taking care of my parents. Besides, there's no future for us. Why are you putting yourself through this?" The Freya I remembered always held her head high, never bowing to the world. Even when life was full of ups and downs, she was always full of hope. Even though we've broken up, I don't want her to change who she is. It's not worth it. People should live for their own brilliance, not give up their identity. That's the lesson I've learned. I just feel a bit guilty about Uncle and Auntie. I never properly visited them while we were together. Can't you give me this chance? I just want to make up for lost time. Is that so wrong? You know my answer. I don't want to be harsh. Hearing my mom call out for Freya to stay for dinner, I steeled myself, ignoring Freya's hopeful gaze as I closed the door behind her. It was better for both of us to end this sooner. Besides, I really didn't want to drag this out any longer. Chapter 13. Recently, the company offered me an assignment abroad. If I do well, I could potentially get promoted by 3 levels. I had been hesitating. My parents are here, and I didn't want to leave them, especially with my dad getting older. But today, I realized I have no choice but to go. Part of it is to avoid Freya, but I also want to challenge myself. After all, I've been in a slump for too long. It's time to get my life back on track. As always, my family supported my decision to explore new opportunities. So, on a quiet afternoon, I packed my bags and left home. Aside from my parents, I didn't tell anyone. Freya, too, stopped contacting me, but somehow, she kept popping up in conversations with my parents. "Freya came by to clean the house today. Freya took your dad to his hospital checkup yesterday." Or, "Freya's learned how to cook now. She made a whole table of your favorite dishes for us." I was grateful for everything she did for my parents, but I never reached out to her. There was no trace of Matthew or Lucas in her WeChat moments anymore, just pictures of her flower arranging and cooking. But it didn't matter. I would never fall for her again. I used to learn how to cook dishes she liked, pestering my mom for tips. I would get up early to go to the flower market, just to buy her the best bouquet. But once we broke up, it meant the end. A year passed in the blink of an eye. I video called my parents and told them I'd met someone here, and I'd bring her home for New Year's. My parents stiffened for a moment, then smiled and agreed. From the corner of the screen, I spotted the edge of Freya's dress. She was wearing the long dress I loved when we first met. I smiled and ended the call. Looks like my parents will soon return to enjoying their time together. As for a girlfriend, maybe I'll just rent one online when the time comes. At Willow's birthday party, she invited her ex-boyfriend Makoto. Despite my objections, everyone started cheering for them to play the kissing card game, where they had to pass a card using only their lips. The card slipped, and they ended up kissing each other. Makoto turned to me and asked, "It was an accident. My fault, Wong. You don't mind, right?" Instead of making a scene like I used to, ruining everyone's mood, I smiled, sat down, crossed my legs, and said, "No, it's fine, go ahead." From that day on, I stopped holding anything against Willow. Even when she told me she needed to go take care of Makoto, I smiled and advised her on how to look after a sick person, but she panicked, her eyes reddening as she grabbed my hand frantically. "George, aren't you even a little jealous?" Chapter 1. At Willow's birthday party, I stood there watching as she and her ex-boyfriend played a truth or dare punishment game. Egged on by the crowd, they held a transparent kiss board between their lips. The rule was to hold it in place using only their mouths for 10 seconds without dropping it. Just as their lips were about to touch the board, I couldn't take it anymore. "Stop, Willow, don't you think this game is too much?" Everyone looked disappointed, muttering under their breath, and one of Willow's friends teased, "Willow, your George has quite the temper." Willow's face immediately darkened, and she began tapping the board with irritation. "So what? There's a board in between. It's not like we're really kissing. Can't you stop killing the fun?" I felt a pang in my heart. In our 3 years together, she had never cared about my feelings. I had told her many times not to invite Makoto, yet she still ignored me and invited him to celebrate. "Don't be so petty. I'm over him," she said. "Besides, everyone here is a mutual friend, and he just went through a breakup. It's just to help him relax. Yeah, all our old friends were here, and I was the only outsider. I was always jealous of Makoto, and every time I caused a scene in front of everyone, Willow's friends started to dislike me. Watching the two of them, so close and carefree, I suddenly felt exhausted. Willow, my stomach hurts, I said. In the middle of this standoff, Makoto clutched his stomach in pain. Willow, looking both worried and anxious, said, I'll go buy you some medicine now. But someone stopped her. Willow, the game's not over yet. Are you trying to skip out on drinking? What do we do then? Should we wait until I get back? Makoto, pale-faced, forced a smile and asked, Wong, could you do me a favor and grab the medicine from the pharmacy around the corner? Makoto, when did my boyfriend become someone for you to order around? Willow snapped, sounding annoyed but acting obedient nonetheless. George, could you please help Makoto get his medicine? He usually takes this brand for his stomach. It works really well. She handed me her phone, showing me a picture. I recognized that medicine immediately. Once, Makoto had posted on social media about Willow taking care of him, and that exact medicine had been in the picture. In a fit of jealousy, I had thrown all the same medicine in our house away, only for Willow to call me crazy. Seeing that I wasn't budging, she looked a bit embarrassed. Honey, could you do me a favor as a birthday present? I'll reward you tonight, she whispered sweetly, trying to coax me. Here we go again. She was dangling a carrot in front of me, trying to trick me into doing what she wanted. In the past, I would have eagerly agreed, only to be pushed away with excuses when it was time to claim my reward. Now, all I wanted was to escape this suffocating place. Okay, I said, standing up and leaving the room. As I reached the pharmacy, Makoto sent me a message. Wong, the punishment game with Willow isn't over yet. Hope you can forgive me for what's coming. I ignored him and hurried back to the room. As I opened the door, I saw them with their lips pressed together, separated only by the board. As everyone cheered and counted down, 10, 9, 8, my heart sank to the bottom. Willow had ultimately let me down. As I entered, Makoto flinched, and the board slipped from their mouths. Willow, caught off guard, fell forward and planted her lips squarely on Makoto's. There they were, kissing in front of everyone. Willow quickly pulled back, screaming in shock as she frantically wiped her lips. Makoto, looking nervous, turned to me and said, It was an accident. My fault. Wong, you don't mind, right? Willow, scrubbing her lips until they were red, added nervously, Honey, it was just an accident. Don't be mad. I calmly sat down, crossed my legs, and smiled. No, it's fine. Go ahead. Everyone was stunned. In the past, I would have flipped the table and caused a scene. Willow would have immediately stepped in to criticize me. It was just a joke. Why are you overreacting? You're embarrassing us. And Makoto would have played the good guy. Come on, Wong. He's just too protective of you. Listen to me. Don't argue. Then Willow would scold me. Look how considerate he is. Can't you be more mature? I was always made out to be the bad guy, while Makoto always came out looking good. Today, I didn't cause a scene. I silently took a sip of tea. Willow looked uneasy. She came over to me, asking if I wasn't feeling well. Where's the medicine? I didn't buy it. He seems fine, able to play games. I don't think he needs it, I said flatly. Willow's face flashed with anger. This was the first time I hadn't met her demands. Let's keep playing. She glared at me before turning to Makoto to urge him on. Makoto glanced at me, then smiled and suggested, maybe we should stop. I waved dismissively. No need to worry about me. You two go ahead. Everyone cheered, praising how understanding I was. Willow's face, however, grew darker. For the rest of the games, Willow was even more enthusiastic in interacting with Makoto, sharing a finger biscuit, pinching each other's noses, and finally, they even toasted together with crossed arms. I wasn't angry at all. In fact, I felt sleepy. It was late, and all I wanted was to go home and sleep. Everyone had a great time, but Willow's face didn't look so good. I checked my watch. It was already 11:30. How about we call it a night? I want to go home and rest, I said. Everyone was surprised, and Willow's face showed a fleeting trace of relief, though it quickly disappeared, replaced by her usual frown. We were all having fun, and we were planning to head to a bar to keep the party going. Don't spoil the mood. I was confused and shook my head. I'm not spoiling the mood. You guys can go ahead. I'm just really tired. Makoto, looking guilty, said, Wong, are you mad at me again? I'm sorry. I admit I went a bit too far with Willow today, but we're just friends. Willow stepped in front of him with a cold face. There's no need to apologize. He's just having one of his old episodes again. I yawned, tears welling up from exhaustion. I'm really not mad. How about this? You guys go to the bar, and I'll cover the tab. Deal. Willow saw my tears and seemed momentarily pleased, but when she understood what I was saying, her face darkened instantly. I didn't bother arguing anymore. I threw down a card and walked out. Once I got in my car, I called my boss, Mr. Su. I'm willing to relocate to City C as soon as possible. You finally made up your mind. Don't worry, the company will take care of you. He had been trying to convince me for a long time, saying young people should prioritize their careers, but I had hesitated because of Willow. Thankfully, her constant antics had cured me of my love-struck foolishness. When I got home, I went straight to bed. In the middle of the night, a loud bang jolted me awake, as if someone had kicked the door. The room light suddenly blazed on, blinding me. Willow stood leaning against the doorframe, with Makoto by her side. Sorry for disturbing you so late, Wong, Makoto said apologetically. Willow drank too much, and I didn't feel comfortable letting her go home alone, so I brought her here. Suppressing my irritation at being woken up, I coldly replied, all right, take her to the guest room to sleep. Just as I was about to go back to sleep, Willow angrily shoved Makoto aside and yanked the covers off me. George, you're not even a little worried about me, not even one call. You used to always pick me up. Chapter 2. Indeed, in the past, no matter who she was out with, I would always call to check on her safety. If it got too late, I would personally drive to pick her up. But all it ever got me was ridicule from her friends and scolding from her. They laughed at me for being overly attached, and teased that Willow was strict with her husband. Willow would always lash out at me to save face. George, I'm an adult. I have the right to my freedom. Stop controlling me and get lost. Thinking of this, I pulled the blanket back over myself. You always said I was too controlling. Now that I'm giving you freedom, isn't that what you wanted? She was rendered speechless, her face flushing red. I'm feeling dizzy. Could you make me some hangover soup? She asked, trying to soften her tone. In the past, every time she drank, I would make her that soup, but now, I didn't feel like it anymore. The ingredients are in the kitchen. If you want it, make it yourself. I have work tomorrow. I'm going to sleep. I got up, pushed both of them out of the room, and locked the door. Willow started banging on the door, shouting, George, are you giving me attitude now? Before, I would have done all these things without her needing to ask. Now, even when she humbled herself to ask sweetly in front of Makoto, I felt nothing. But, really, what did it matter to me? I put on my noise-canceling earplugs and fell into a deep sleep. It was the best sleep I'd had in a long time, without any dreams. The next morning, I walked out to find Willow in an apron, glaring at me with resentment. I thought you were going to sleep all day. Go make some porridge. Makoto says his stomach hurts. The smell of burnt food came from the kitchen. She had tried cooking for Makoto and failed miserably. Why should I said with a cold laugh, making Willow look up in shock. He's your ex-boyfriend, not mine. Makoto, clutching his stomach from the couch, weakly chimed in. Willow, you two don't need to fight because of me. I'll leave now. I laughed. If you were truly considerate, you would have left last night. George, my friend sent me home late, and I had been drinking. What's wrong with letting him crash on the couch? Willow screamed. Nothing. I wouldn't even mind if you slept next to him, I said nonchalantly as I headed to the bathroom. The sound of things being thrown and a door slamming followed. When I came out, they were both gone, and the kitchen was a mess, with broken pieces of a burnt pot scattered on the floor. I didn't bother cleaning it up. I went straight to work. For the next 3 days, Willow didn't come home. I saw her post on social media. In the photo, she was wearing a loose men's shirt, holding up a pan-fried bun with chopsticks, and captioned, You really know me well. You know I love pan-fried buns. Makoto didn't appear in the picture, but I could see his hand, wearing a watch. It was the same watch Willow had given me for our anniversary last year. At the time, I had been overjoyed, only to later find out Makoto had the exact same one. Chapter 3. From that day on, I threw the watch into a drawer and never wore it again. Every time Willow and I fought, she would run to Makoto and post passive-aggressive updates on social media for my eyes only. Like today. In the past, I would have panicked, calling her over and over, begging her to come home. Even when it was her fault, I would let it go, and she would return like a haughty princess, casually asking, Have you learned your lesson? But now, I didn't care anymore. I liked her post and then knocked on my boss's office door. Boss, when can I leave? The sooner, the better. He smiled approvingly. I've already told Luis to make arrangements. It's rare to see you finally come around. Don't worry, your salary will double when you get there. When my coworkers heard I was moving to City C, they congratulated me, and someone asked, What about your girlfriend? I smiled and said, We've broken up. We weren't right for each other. They nodded knowingly. Over the next week, I was busy handing over my work until I saw Makoto's latest post on social media. I said I wanted to see the ocean tomorrow, and you're taking me at dawn. You're the best. The picture was of 2 figures sitting on the beach, facing the sea in peaceful tranquility. Willow commented, Of course, I'm your ever-reliable best friend who never lets you down. I liked the post and commented, Wishing you both everlasting love. The post was quickly deleted, and shortly after, Willow called me. I didn't pick up and put my phone on silent. After working late until 7 p.m., I checked my phone to find dozens of missed calls and messages. Willow's messages read, "Don't get the wrong idea. It wasn't just the two of us at the beach. A whole group of us went, and we stayed in separate rooms. I've been sleeping in a different room at Makoto's house these past few days. The other day, I didn't have clothes, so I borrowed his shirt because I got caught in the rain. I've cooked dinner at home. I'll come pick you up tonight." I was surprised. This was the first time she had ever tried to explain herself. In the past, when I saw posts like this, I would lose my temper and argue, but she wouldn't even bother explaining. She'd just say, "Only insecure people think so negatively. We're just good friends." Now that I didn't care anymore and genuinely wished them well, she started explaining and even tried to make peace. In all 3 years together, she had never cooked for me. Willow always said she wanted to be spoiled like a princess forever, and princesses don't cook. Yet every time Makoto had a stomachache, she would rush over to cook him a full meal. If I ever got upset, she would coldly say, "Makoto is sick. He can't keep eating takeout. What's wrong with me cooking for him?" And if I protested, she would add, "If you feel it's unfair, stop cooking. I can eat takeout forever." I would always give in because I didn't want her eating unhealthy food. Looking back, I can't believe how foolishly in love I was. Thankfully, I've finally woken up. "Okay," I replied to her last message. I figured it was time to tell her in person that it was over. When I got downstairs, Willow was waiting by the car, waving at me. Before I could walk over, she ran up to me, linking her arm with mine. "Working overtime is tough. I made your favorite sweet and sour ribs and braised shrimp." For a moment, I was shocked. Was this really Willow? She had actually cooked for me and even came to pick me up from work. "George, why have you been ignoring me for so long?" Willow's eyes reddened as she spoke, clearly hurt. I gently pulled my arm free, pausing for a moment before replying. "Because you always complained that I was too controlling, that you didn't have enough freedom. I thought giving you more space was what you wanted." She bit her lip, looking guilty. "I only just realized over the past few days that I've gotten used to you caring for me, to having you around. Even though I was with them, I kept thinking about you. That's why I came back early. Cooking is really tiring, but I'll do it more often for you." "Okay." I stayed silent, meeting her hopeful gaze. "In the future, we won't have that chance," I finally said. Her expression changed. "What do you mean?" Before I could answer, her phone rang. "Willow, I'm at the airport, and my stomach hurts." It was Makoto again. Willow reacted instinctively, tensing up with worry. "Makoto, ask someone there for some hot water. I'll be right there." She hung up and looked at me apologetically. "I'm sorry. Makoto isn't feeling well. I need to go pick him up." I nodded. "I understand. Go ahead." I left some stomach medicine and a thermos in the car. "You can go to my office and fill it with hot water. There might not be any pharmacies near the airport," I added, smiling as I gave her detailed instructions for taking care of a sick person. "Remember, people with stomach issues shouldn't just drink porridge. Toast is actually better for them." Willow's eyes reddened. "George, why are you suddenly saying all this?" I smiled. "Because you've gotten so used to me taking care of you. I'm guessing you wouldn't know how to care for someone else. Go on. Makoto's waiting for you at the airport." She looked panicked, clutching my hand desperately like a madwoman. "George, are you not jealous at all?" I sighed. But before I could respond, my coworker approached us. "Wong, I've been looking everywhere for you." "Oh, is this your girlfriend?" he asked, glancing at Willow with a friendly smile. "Nice to meet you, ma'am. Wong here told us you two had broken up, but clearly that's not true. You're such a supportive girlfriend, letting him move to City C for work. Impressive." My coworker's bluntness hit Willow like a freight train. Her expression changed instantly. "What did you say?" "George is moving to City C." Her body trembled as her nails dug deep into my arm, leaving marks. I frowned and pulled my arm free, speaking calmly. "Yes, I made the decision 2 weeks ago, on your birthday. Let's break up." "Willow, you don't mean that, do you?" "Honey," she asked, using a term of endearment she rarely ever called me in the 3 years we were together. Chapter 4. In the past, I used to cling to her, asking her to call me husband, but she always said it felt awkward and refused. Now, when she finally called me that, I didn't want to hear it anymore. It's not just words of anger. "Willow, I'm serious." I looked at her tear-filled eyes, my voice calm. "I'm leaving this city soon, starting a new life elsewhere. Take care of yourself from now on." She bit her lip so hard that blood started trickling down. My coworker finally sensed the awkwardness and quickly excused himself, slipping away unnoticed. I frowned, turned away from her, and hailed a cab to go home and pack my things I had been organizing over the past few days. Willow followed me home, storming in to block my way. "I've already swallowed my pride and come back to cook for you. What more do you want? I admit I went too far before, but I've been making it up to you. Even ditching my friends for you. Isn't that enough? Throwing a tantrum has its limits, and now you're pulling this act just to fool me." Her bloodshot eyes glared at me, convinced I was just acting out of spite. I'm giving you one last chance. As long as you don't say the words break up, I'll promise not to see Makoto again. I chuckled and shook my head. It's too late for that. Willow, I don't love you anymore. Her face turned pale as she desperately searched my eyes for something, anything. I don't believe you. I won't agree to breaking up. Her phone rang again, and Makoto's weak voice came through. Willow, where are you? I feel awful. Please hurry. Makoto, I can't make it. You should ask the airport staff for help, or call an ambulance. Willow hung up the phone with a hard look on her face. I was surprised. This was the first time she had ever refused a request from Makoto. He's a grown man. He can take care of himself. I can't always be there for him, she explained to me. I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity. How ironic. In the past, during holidays or special occasions, whenever Makoto called, Willow would drop everything to go see him. Back then, she would scold me, saying, Makoto is all alone, and it's my responsibility as his friend to take care of him. Don't be so narrow-minded. He's in the past, and now we're just the best of friends. So, she knew all along that what she was doing wasn't right, but she kept gaslighting me into accepting it. Some kind of compliance test. How ridiculous. What are you laughing at? Willow looked at me, confused. I finally understand why Makoto's girlfriend left him. He deserved it. I sneered. He has an ex-girlfriend who doesn't know any boundaries, claiming to be his best friend and constantly by his side. What normal woman could tolerate that? George, how could you say that? Willow shrieked, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I'm saying that both you and Makoto are pathetic, completely clueless about boundaries. You both deserve to be dumped. I said each word clearly, watching her stagger from the impact. You're insulting me. I didn't bother replying, simply grabbed my suitcase and walked out the door. Willow lunged at me, hugging me from behind. You're right. It's my fault. I'll change. Please, don't leave me. Honey, I know I was wrong. Her warm tears burned my back, but the feeling only disgusted me. You never cherish something until it's about to be lost. How sickening. Don't call me honey anymore. Let go, I said coldly. No, I won't let you go. Willow began to act like a spoiled child, refusing to let me leave. I pried her arms off and walked away without looking back. Behind me, I could hear her heart-wrenching screams. Sigh. I had hoped for an amicable breakup, but it didn't turn out that way. I guess I can't pretend to be a saint and just brush off the people who hurt me with a smile. With a heavy sigh, I dragged my suitcase back to the office. There was still a week before I had to leave the province, so I temporarily stayed at a hotel near the office. For the next 2 days, Willow kept bombarding me with calls and messages, apologies, reminiscing about the past, begging for forgiveness. I was so irritated that I blocked her on everything. Looking out at the rain outside my window, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Wong, there's someone downstairs asking for you. My coworker called me down, and I found Willow standing there, hugging herself. It was early autumn, and she had been caught in the rain, soaked through and shivering. When she saw me, her eyes lit up, and she hurried over to hug me. I stepped back a few paces and frowned. What are you doing here? Please, honey, stop being like this. Let's go home. Okay, she pleaded, her eyes red and puffy, likely from days of not sleeping well. I'm not going back. That house belongs to you. We've already broken up, so there's no reason for me to live there anymore. I replied indifferently. I know you're angry because I didn't know my boundaries before, and because I brought Makoto to my birthday party and played games with him. I've reflected on it deeply and promise I'll never do it again. I've already told Makoto not to contact me unless it's important. Please, forgive me, she begged, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. I said nothing, and she continued. I've even thought over what you said when you insulted me that day. You were right. If you're still mad, you can keep yelling at me. This version of her felt both familiar and foreign, humble, cautious, desperate, and without dignity. It reminded me of my old self. I used to be that way, too, except back then, she was the one who made me feel so small. I have no connection to you anymore. I won't yell at you. I have work to do. Goodbye. I coldly brushed her off, turning to leave. Desperate, Willow pulled a small object from her pocket, wrapped in plastic. I know you left the house in a huff, and that's why you didn't take this charm with you. You once said you'd take it with you everywhere, just like you'd take me. George, could you really break your own promise? As I took the charm from her hand, memories came flooding back. Chapter 5. This charm was something Willow got for me when we first met. 3 years ago, I had just started working in the city, and one evening after work, I went out for dinner with colleagues. Suddenly, I heard a faint cry for help from a nearby table. Turning around, I saw a pure and beautiful girl being dragged out by her friends. That girl was Willow. Her face was flushed unnaturally, and the guys with her glared at me. We're friends. Mind your own business, they snapped. Even my colleagues urged me not to get involved, but I stood up anyway, acting like a fool. She's calling for help. I have reason to believe you're trying to kidnap her. If you don't let her go, I'll call the police. It was already late, and there weren't many people left at the barbecue stand. The leader of the group, a guy with bleached hair, slapped me across the face. "You little punk. You think you can threaten me?" That night, I got beaten up by several of them until my colleagues called the police. At the station, I found out that Willow didn't actually know those guys. She had been heartbroken and went out drinking by herself, but suddenly started feeling dizzy, and those guys took advantage of the situation. The police warned her, "Young lady, don't go drinking alone again. You could have been drugged." The officers told me I had saved her from something terrible, as those thugs had a notorious reputation and had caused trouble before. They knew how to fight just enough to hurt me without leaving any serious injuries. Willow cried and thanked me for saving her, promising to take care of my wounds until I healed. That's how we met. Afterward, she went to a temple and got me a charm, telling me to keep it on me for protection. When we got together, I cherished that charm, always keeping it close to me. Carrying this is like carrying you. It protects me, and I'll protect you for life. Okay, I once vowed to her, but after deciding to break up, I no longer wanted to carry it. Willow, I wasn't the one who broke the promise. I sighed, reminding her, "You were the one who asked to be with me in the first place. You said you liked me because I made you feel safe, but later on, you found me annoying, and you deliberately avoided me to spend time with Makoto instead. You're the one who wore down my love, little by little. You can't blame anyone else." Willow bit her lip so hard her whole body trembled. Before I could say anything more, her eyes rolled back, and she fainted on the ground. I had no choice but to carry her to the couch in the lobby and borrow a thermometer from the front desk. As I suspected, she had a high fever. Completely drenched, she curled up in her sleep, her face twisted in pain. It struck me then that, in the past, she never had to get caught in the rain. Whenever it rained, no matter where she was, I would call her immediately to ask if she needed an umbrella or a ride home. But she always responded with cold indifference. "I'm an adult. I know how to avoid the rain. If I don't have an umbrella, I can buy one. Can you stop bothering me?" My endless care and protection were only met with her irritation and contempt. "George, please don't leave me," she murmured after taking some medicine. Her eyes fluttered open, full of helplessness and pleading. I shook my head slowly. "I've already called your friends to come pick you up. I have something to do, so I won't be staying." Willow grabbed my sleeve, tears pouring from her eyes. In the past, I couldn't stand to see her shed even a single tear. It would break my heart. But now, I felt nothing. "Wong, there you are. We've been looking all over for you. Come on. The boss and everyone else have already left for the restaurant. They're waiting for the guest of honor, you." My coworker came to get me, just as Makoto arrived. "Willow, are you okay?" He rushed to the couch, reaching out to feel her forehead. I stood up and walked away. Behind me, I could hear Willow's heart-wrenching cries, followed by her yelling something at Makoto. None of it mattered to me anymore. A week later, I finally flew to City C. The colleagues there were friendly, and work became even busier. Yet, despite everything, Willow still hadn't given up. She sent me messages every day, trying to get my attention. "I tried making your favorite sweet and sour pork. It's a bit ugly, but it tastes pretty good. I had another nightmare without you here. I keep having bad dreams. It's raining again today, but I've gotten used to carrying an umbrella in my bag, just in case. After all, you won't be there to pick me up anymore." A pigeon fell off the balcony. I bandaged its wing. "It's so pitiful. George, I miss you so much." She went through countless numbers to send me these messages over the span of 2 months. In the past, I was the one sharing every little thing with her. Just like that, I remembered the time I found a stray kitten on the street, took a picture, and sent it to her. "This poor thing, can I bring it home?" It took her a long time to reply. "I'm allergic to pet hair. We can't have it." At that moment, I realized she hadn't even bothered to look at the picture. My disappointment grew over time, until eventually, I became used to it. After all, I loved her more, so I was willing to lower myself. But now that I no longer loved her, she had only just started trying to share things with me. Too little, too late. Delayed affection is worth less than nothing. Delayed sharing is just a nuisance. During this time, Makoto had stopped posting anything about Willow. He used to post about her at least once or twice a week, whether they were out having fun or she was taking care of him, cooking and bringing him medicine. Chapter 6. Now, Makoto's social media is filled with melancholic posts, much like the overly dramatic musings of a teenage boy. If this had been before, Willow would probably have shared in his sadness. But now, watching him act like this, I find it amusing, like watching a clown perform. During my 6 months in City C, Willow continued sharing her life with me relentlessly. I no longer bothered blocking her, although I had no idea where she got so many new accounts. After completing my first project, my boss invited me back to celebrate. I made plans with a colleague to pick me up from the airport. However, upon landing, I saw Willow waiting there from a distance. As soon as she spotted me, her eyes lit up with excitement. My colleague texted me, "Sorry, Wong." She was too persistent. "I'll make it up with 3 drinks later." Willow approached, looking thinner and more worn than I remembered. George, can't we even stay friends after the breakup? I had to beg your colleague to tell me you were coming back today. I didn't know how to respond. Seeing the hint of grievance on her face, she smiled, grabbed my luggage, and said, "Come on, I'll drive you to the restaurant." Women really are mysterious creatures. Despite our breakup and my coldness for the past 6 months, she clung to me like glue, unwilling to sever the connection. I instinctively went to sit in the back seat, but she pulled me into the front passenger seat instead. In the past, the front seat had always been reserved for Makoto. Even when the three of us were together, I had always been relegated to the back. "What are you looking for?" Willow asked. Noticing me glance at the center console, I remembered that spot used to be filled with Makoto's things, breath freshener, cologne samples, and men's hand cream. Once, I got so angry about those items that I tried to throw them out, but Willow had mocked me, saying I was petty and that I was trying to keep others from living their best lives just because I wasn't as refined as them. Those are just things. How do they affect you? Now, all those things were gone, likely thrown away. So, she did understand that they had significance, that they weren't just harmless objects. "Nothing," I replied. As the car crawled through traffic, Willow turned to me when we hit a red light. "I'm sorry, I didn't have good boundaries back then. I thought it didn't matter who sat in the front or who left things there. But now, I get how you must have felt." I stayed silent. As we moved forward in stop-and-go traffic, my post-flight nausea worsened. I brought some motion sickness pills, just in case. She handed me a bottle, then opened a thermos from the cup holder. "It's chilly now. Drink some hot water." It was the same thermos I had told her to give Makoto. That touched something in me. If this had been in the past, I would have been overjoyed just to have her come pick me up, let alone be so thoughtful. But back then, she would have hung up impatiently, telling me she was too busy, and that I should take a cab home. As for motion sickness pills, I'd only ever seen her prepare them for Makoto, even though I suffered from motion sickness, too. On that winding mountain road trip, Willow had given the only pill to Makoto, saying, "Makoto's stomach isn't good. If he throws up, it'll be really bad for him. You can hold on a bit longer." Right. I didn't even know you get car sick. I had clung to the side of a tree, vomiting bitter bile as the stomach acid burned my throat. But Willow had known about my motion sickness. She just hadn't cared. I remembered when we first started dating. I went with her to the amusement park and threw up terribly after riding the pirate ship. She had been so concerned back then. "Why didn't you tell me you get motion sickness?" "Silly. I wouldn't have forced you to ride it." I had laughed it off, telling her I had taken medicine beforehand but miscalculated the dosage. She had cried, hugging me and saying, "George, you're so good to me." But later, after Makoto appeared, she gradually forgot these things. Now, after our breakup, it seemed she had remembered them again. When we arrived at the restaurant, I hesitated. She smiled at me and said, "Go ahead. Don't drink too much." I nodded and went inside. By the time the dinner ended, it was already 11:30 p.m. Stepping out, I was surprised to find Willow still waiting by the roadside. When she saw me, she got out of the car and handed me a hangover remedy. "Drink this. It'll help you feel better." I was puzzled by her change. Why had she become like this? It was as if we had never broken up, only that our roles had been reversed. Now, she was the one being clingy and attentive. "Willow, you don't need to do this. We're already," I started, but she cut me off before I could say broken up. "Can't I just do this as a friend?" Her eyes were red, her nose pink, and she sneezed. She had probably been sitting in the cold car all evening, unable to start the engine and stay warm. "George, I never knew how hard it was to wait until now." Once inside the car, she looked at me with sad, pleading eyes. Yes, I remembered how I used to wait for her all the time, like the time it snowed, and she dragged me to karaoke with her friends. They had all egged her and Makoto on to sing a duet. I couldn't stand the atmosphere and went outside for some air. I sat outside for half an hour, but she never came to check on me. Out of stubbornness, I stayed outside for another hour. It wasn't until Willow came out to use the bathroom that she saw me sitting there like an idiot. I had been waiting for almost 2 hours. The wind that night was freezing, and the snow had soaked my clothes. I caught a fever. "Are you stupid? Why didn't you say something? Serves you right for getting sick," she had scolded, showing no concern, only irritation. "I'm sorry. I was so immature back then, letting you sit out in the cold and watch the snow like that," Willow said softly now, her apology finally circling back to hit her. "It's fine. It's all in the past. I didn't ask you to wait for me today, so don't blame me if you get sick." My tone was calm, but she froze at my words. All I had done was return the words she had once thrown at me. The difference was that back then, I would have been soothed by her simple apology. Now, it was impossible. We drove in silence. Willow's eyes were red, and she kept glancing at me. When we reached the hotel parking lot, her phone rang. "Willow, I miss you. Can you come see me?" It was Makoto. Of course. Willow furrowed her brow, about to respond when she sneezed again. "You're sick. Where are you? I'll bring you some medicine." she said. I opened the car door, laughing quietly to myself. Seems like you're not lacking in people who care about you. I'll get off here. From the other end of the phone, Makoto had clearly heard my voice and shouted. Of course, you don't care about Willow, but I do. You should stay away from her and stop making her miserable. I had nothing left to say, so I grabbed my suitcase and left. No matter how much Willow called after me, I didn't look back. Her voice faded into the wind. That night, Makoto smugly posted on social media. Longing does get a response, you finally came to see me. I chuckled to myself and tossed my phone aside before heading to the bathroom. When I came back out, I had a few missed calls. I only went to see Makoto to make things clear. I told him I don't want to be friends anymore. From now on, we're done. Don't misunderstand. His post was just him being presumptuous. I made him delete it. Sure enough, Makoto's post had already disappeared, but I could only laugh. In the past, every time Makoto dragged Willow away from me, he would post about how their friendship was worth celebrating. No matter how upset I got, Willow would coldly tell me, "We're just friends. Why do you care so much about these trivial things? What? Am I supposed to control what my friends post? Don't be ridiculous." Her scolding words were still fresh in my memory, but now she seemed to understand. It was these so-called trivial things that had slowly eroded my love for her. Your friend can post whatever he wants. Freedom of speech. Freedom of choice. I replied with just that one sentence. Chapter 7. Like a boomerang striking her right between the eyes, Willow finally broke down. She sent me voice messages, crying. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong now. When he tried to drive a wedge between us, I finally felt the pain you must have felt back then. It's my fault. I didn't stop him when I should have. Instead, I fueled his arrogance, belittled and criticized you. I was the one who pushed you away. I'm so sorry, George. Listening to her tearful voice, I felt nothing. If she had realized this earlier, maybe things would have been different. But now, it didn't matter anymore. I turned off my phone, ignored her, and slept soundly through the night. The next morning, I packed my bags and went down to the hotel lobby. It was already 10 a.m. As I pulled out my phone to call a cab, I heard Willow's voice. I'll take you to the airport. She was curled up on the lobby sofa, dark circles under her eyes even more prominent. I realized she must have returned after cutting ties with Makoto and waited for me all night. There's no need. You didn't rest, so you shouldn't drive, I said calmly, dragging my suitcase toward the exit. Willow rushed after me, blocking my path, her eyes red and swollen. It was on my birthday, wasn't it? I didn't quite understand what she meant. She struggled to speak, her voice hoarse. That day, I ignored all your objections and insisted on inviting Makoto to the party. Then, during the games, I intentionally got too close to him to provoke you. But you didn't get angry anymore. You even encouraged me to stay with them while you left alone. Was that when you started to give up on me? I shook my head. No, that was just the last straw. Her face crumpled, and tears began to flow. I know I did so many things wrong before. Over the past 6 months, I've reflected on everything. I think about it, and I want to slap myself. It was my fault. I took advantage of your love, thinking you'd never leave me, so I kept testing your limits. I just wanted to see how much you cared, to hear you say you loved me. She choked on her sobs, her words barely intelligible, but I almost forgot. People's hearts grow cold. It's my fault. Please, forgive me. Give me another chance. I've already cut ties with all those friends. I'll change. I'll be the girlfriend you've always wanted. I'll make you breakfast, go everywhere with you. Take care of your health. I won't miss any more anniversaries, and I'll never give someone else the same gifts I give you. From now on, you'll be my only one. Please? I looked at her but didn't say anything. She grew desperate. I'll do all of it. I swear. I've already deleted those people and told them not to contact me. Please believe me. I sighed and smiled softly. So you see, you knew all along what you were doing wrong, but you still did it. Every time I got angry and argued, you never reflected on it. Instead, you turned it around on me, accusing me of being the problem. Like you said, you were confident in my love for you. You thought I'd never leave, that I'd stick to you like a desperate fool. You took my love and smothered it. It's over, Willow. Breaking up is the best outcome for both of us. No, I still love you, George. I still love you. Willow cried out in panic, no longer caring about her dignity. But, Willow, I don't love you anymore. I'm someone who deserves someone better, someone who'll stand by me through thick and thin, who won't expect me to carry the entire burden. That's the kind of person I'll love. Willow collapsed, clutching her head and sobbing uncontrollably, struggling to catch her breath. Goodbye, Willow, I said, dragging my suitcase and walking away without looking back. Goodbye to the person I once loved with all my heart. When I can no longer remember why I was ever hurt, that's when I'll have truly forgotten you.